student that so how can we create user entry form in Microsoft Excel and make that form automated. So I have created this form for that student, and I'm presenting this form in front of you guys how it works, and we will create this form step by step. So how that is the some steps involved in this form, so we will discuss about this form one by one. So let's check this form first. So for first name we have to enter the first name of the user. Suppose that any name we want to enter in this form. So we are entering the data in the form, and this data is related to the employee or any kind of data. Okay, it's as per your need. You want to create that, and that's all. Enter the data. Date of birth. Enter the date of birth. So once we click on the save button, it will automatically inserted at the bottom, and I have put the functionality to save this sheet as well. Once we click on that data, it goes to the Microsoft Excel workbook and automatically save the data. So let's move ahead, and how do we create this form. So this form, for creating this form, first of all we need to design the form. So let's say we are entering a new Excel workbook, and pasting this column. This is the first column header, we can say that, table header. So here our data will be saved once we enter in the form. For this, we just designing this database. For that, go to the home tab and put the border, all borders, right? Once the all border put in, and insert the launch form. For that, let me tell you one thing. If you are the new to Excel and don't know how to start with, first of all, for creating user entry form, our developers tab needs to be visible, because if you don't have developer tab in Microsoft Excel, you will not able to insert the Visual Basic module, all that thing. So coding is the necessary for creating the user form. For this uh, making the developer tab visible, go to the Microsoft Excel. If you are using some other versions, suppose that 2016, 10, all that, there is also a Microsoft Excel option, and click on that option. So this developer tab by default uh, unchecked. So for that, here this tab should be checked on to show the developer tab in Microsoft Excel. That's all. Otherwise, you will not able to insert the module, all that thing. So that's all. This tab is by default visible in my Microsoft Excel workbook. So let's move ahead. Right. So here we are inserting Activex Control for launching a form. So insert this, and make some design as well. Open the property dialog box. Here you can leave the name as is. I'm not changing the name, and just I'm changing the caption for this button. No. So and let's remove the grid for this Microsoft Excel. Here grid lines are visible, so let's remove these grid lines and make some background changes on that thing. Let's make some background changes. Right, this designing part is not necessary, I believe so. But if you are a good designer, it looks the feels the great for designing perspective. I'm not good designer as well, so I really feel that I supposed to be a good designer for that. But let's move ahead. This is not the thing we are talking about. Designing is not the part for this video. Now insert the Visual Basic module. For that we have already let's say let's close the previous form that was already created. Now workbook is open now. So we have here our project explorer here. That's it. Sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. Rename this sheet 1 as database 1 database sheet. Click on that form. So here we just need to show the first of all we need to insert the user form. For that, enter for here you can insert the user form. That's all. I have inserted the user form here. Now come to the view the coding. So here I'm showing the user form. Once we click on the button to launch the form, so here user form 1 dot show. That's all. So this piece of code, this is basically a routine user click form, so it will show the form for us. Let's run this. Once we run this, and now you can see that the form is visible. So now come to the designing part for the user form. So let's open the property for that. So property window is appear here. Change some properties for the form as well. Just like that caption, I'm changing that data entry form, and name I'm leaving that name as it is. And if you want to make some background changes and color all that thing, you can do that, but I'm leaving that part, otherwise my video become the long, and that's why I'm leaving that part, right? I don't want to make my video longer. My main motive is that to show you how can we develop a user entry form. That's all. So let's do some designing. So that's all. Now let's put the some labels and text boxes, the information related to the employee. For that we need to create some labels. This is label 3, label 4, right? So these these label these 4 labels has been created. Now we can change the name for that label. So first label, let's make some other labels as well, because we we are going to need uh, 8 label, because we have 8 fields. That's all. So let's make some design. Right. So change the caption for that as well. First name, last name, employee ID. What is the date of joining is the, so fourth column is date of joining. So let's put the date of joining here as well. Date of joining. And what is the next column? That is address, mobile number, and date of birth, father's name. Address, let's change the caption address. If you are facing any problem in English language, we have the series for Hindi as well, and you can go on playlist and check for the Hindi version of this video. So over there each and everything is discussed in Hindi. So let's change the address, and next point is after address, mobile number, date of birth, father's name. So mobile number, let's change the mobile number, date of birth, and father's name. So our label designing part is completed now. Now we are going to need some text boxes, all the corresponding text boxes for entering the data in form. So text box we are going to need that. These text box I'm using here. First name, let's paste it. So So it totally depends upon you how better you can design a form. As I already told you, I'm not a good designer, but I'm trying to design the form. So designing is not necessary, just we need to have the knowledge how can we create that, and it takes time to design a form. That's all. Otherwise, you can go and check for the some available design on net. All that thing. This is on you, so you can design the different kinds of form and interactive forms as well. That's also that's all. That's not what we want. Actually, we want same size of text boxes. Even as many field as you want, you can insert that, like gender, all that thing. You can, for gender you can take list, chat boxes, all that thing, or even you can take list box as well for gender, right? So whatever data you want, you can take it, and corresponding controls, some other controls are available for that, right? So our form is almost designed. Now we are going to need some buttons for that. One button for saving the data. So let's change the caption for this button as well. Save. And we we also need some other button as well. That's we need for closing this form, right? So our designing part is almost complete. Now let's check this out. So this, that button was not working. Let's see, active that button as well, right? So that is not working. So go to the code view. So change the rear control to command button. Let's see if button is visible here. No, button is not visible. So this button is not working as of now. So okay, so this is basically command button one from one dot show. Let's remove this code. Okay, now you can see that the button is now working. So we are able to launch the form with the help of this launch button. But if you click here, this save and close, that's all. These buttons are not working, even though if I enter some data, suppose that we are entering my name, but it's not working. So let's come to the coding part now. So our designing part is almost complete. So we are not going to do much more designing. So let's come to the coding part. Okay, so for entering the data in this sheet, we are going to find the last available row for entering the data. For finding the last available row, we are going to use the offset. Suppose that this is the first row. I know everybody knows this is the first row, but if you enter the data and it will insert in row, uh, that looks awkward. So our data should be enter in second row. If second row gets saved, then data should enter in the third row, fourth row, fifth row. This supposed to be the sequence for adding the data in the Excel form. For doing that, we need to do a little work. That's we are going to use minimum codes for doing the user entry, right? So let's going to design some names, define a name. Okay, right, we are going to define name for that. Okay, right. So we are going to use the offset. So last row, and here we are going to use the offset offset column. So offset first column, we are offsetting the first row, that is the A1, and count count all. That's it. Now our work is complete. So this last row counts the row and finds the last available row for entering the data. Now come to the entry part, coding part. So for that, click on save button, that is the command button, action button. Now for that, we need to select the sheet sheets. Our sheet is database dot select. So we are making sure we supposed to be on the right sheet, right? And finding the last row, we are going to have need a variable for that. Finding the last row, suppose that if I enter the first row data and For next row again, that's increasing sequence, and for that we are going to have need a variable. For that, for defining a variable, you need to be expert in VBA, all that thing. And if you are if you don't know what is the VBA, all that, and you are new to VBA, Visual Basic Code, you need to learn the Visual Basics first. Otherwise, if you just want to do the user form only, for that you need to memorize this code and you can create user form. Okay, and if you want to make career in Microsoft Excel, you need to go to uh, list of VBA my channel, and over there you can find the related codes as well, right? So for that we are declaring dim and row. Dim stands for dimension as long. Long is the data type, right? So L row. So we are selecting the range on the sheet, range, and over there we mention the last row. So put here last row dot row. So actually this piece of code finds the row, last available row, and enter the data. So last available row stores in the variable that is L row. Now our actual work starts. So we are doing some validations here, and we can make sure that users should enter the correct information, and rows should not be blank, right? So let's do it for entry as well. Just not checking for the data validation, just make the entries. Okay, so for cell, first cell, we are entering cells. So row index, which row? That is the last available row. So L row is the last available row, and which column? Column number is 1. So cells in range, that is the database sheet, we selected first database sheet, oops, compilation. So database sheet, we are using the last available row and column number 1. Here we are assigning the value from where, that is the form 1 value is supposed to come on user form 1. That form we have inserted over there at text box dot value, right? So this this piece of code actually takes the value from the user form text box 1 and assign the value in first cell, this piece of code. So let's check it out if it works. First name, let's do. You can see that name is showing up here, right? And the name is entered, but you can see that the name is still visible on this form, and we want that once we click on save button, and name should be disappear from the text box and it should be visible here. Okay, for doing that we should do there's some coding for that as well, right? So let's move on the form. Let's come to, so for closing button is not working as of now because we didn't do any kind of coding for that, so we are using the cross button. Let's come to the point, and for let's activate the close button. For closing the form, we use the unload property for that, and user form 1, this piece of code will close our form, right? So let's come to the point. For other columns, we need to paste the code as well. So we have total 8 columns, right? So we are going to need the 8 lines of code: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and one more. This is the complete record. Actually, row is not changing. By the way, column is changing, column entry is changing. In first column we have first name, second column last name, and that should come from the text box 2, text box 2, and it should come from the text box 3, text box 4, up to text box 8, it will continue, and 8. So our entry part is complete. After entering the data, we supposed to clear the form as well, right? So for doing that, uh, we need to clear the text box dot value, right? So we are clearing the text box value. Let's copy and paste, and it's supposed to be done for each and every text box, right? So let's make it one by one. If you are new to our channel, please go and subscribe for the channel. And if you want some other videos related to education knowledge purpose, if you find any value related to this video, please subscribe my channel and share with your friends so they can learn the interactive things about the Microsoft Excel, right? So our form is completed here. Till now coding is completed. Now, so for let's run the form now. So I'm entering my information, any kind of, and let's click save button. So textbox 5.text is not available because I believe some property is there as well. Just check for the button, right? So we can see that the text box 5 is not available. Actually that is the text box 6, 7, 8, and 9. So let's change that, no problem. That you need to remember for that what text box you are using there and name all that thing. So basically text box 5 is not available there. uh, that is the 6, 7, 8 and 9, right? So we are skipping the text box 5. What column is there? So don't confuse with the column. So we are just making the changing the names, right? That's all. So let's run the code again. Let's check it out. So enter phone number, date of birth. Let's save this. So you can see that the data is entered in Excel workbook. So and that's working perfectly. Okay, and you have the functionality now to close this form as well. So click on the close form. Now you can close the form, right? You can see that the data is entering perfectly. If you again launching the form, that will perfectly fine. And uh, now the data entered, what this is not saved in the workbook. For saving the data, we just need one line of code for that. That is the sheets.save, right? We are not going to need this form code piece of code, just removing that. So workbook, workbooks, our book 1, right? So we are using the book 1. That is the by default here is showing the name of book is book 1 dot save, right? So this piece of code will save our data in Microsoft Excel without worrying about saving the workbook, right? So that is the default name for workbook. We can change the name of the book here as well. Project name, Project Explorer, right? But so let's run the form again, and save this, right? So that is the macro free workbook, and that's why we save this workbook. So the action is asking to save this workbook as well. So this workbook, to save this workbook, click on the yes. For debug now, we need to say default. By default the workbook name is there, and that is asking for saving the workbook, right? So this is here the piece of code, and we let's make this comment as of now, and let's save our workbook first, right? For saving that, we need to save it as macro enabled workbook, right? Let's save it. Employee entry, right? And make it macro enabled workbook, right? And save it on wherever you want to save it, right? So I save this workbook, employee entry, and let's come to the point and change the name here as well, employee entry. So let's run the code again. Now it will work perfectly fine. And click on save button. So now you can see that our Microsoft Excel workbook saving as well as the data is perfectly entered in the sheet. So if you find any kind of value, please feel free to subscribe for my channel for interesting video, and we are starting up the series for Visual Basic that is free of cost. Go over there in playlist and check for reference and related videos and watch for all the videos. Thank you and have a nice day.